Kingsley, in Nigeria, insecurity has become the greatest geopolitical threat facing the nation today, following cases of insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, farmer herders clashes, militancy, pipeline vandalization, and cases of killings of innocent people by criminals plaguing different parts of the country.
That's right, Jumai. Well, of course, initially, for a while, insecurity, particularly of life and property around terrorism, seemed to have been largely confined to the northeast of the country with the Boko Haram insurgency, which to a considerable extent has been taken care of. But as you just indicated, more ugly situations have since reared their heads with banditry, kidnapping, and so on.
Points on Kingsley. The tense security situation in Nigeria is no longer limited, to a particular section of the country. The Igbos, Hausa, Fulanis, Yorubas, and other minority groups are being targeted daily. It seems no particular group has been spared in the killings and kidnappings going on in various parts of the country. Kingsley.
And many have joined voices with that of the Inspector General of Police in calling for tougher pieces of legislation against persons who are convicted of kidnapping and banditry in the country. Now, the most recent is a call for a legislation prescribing stiffer penalties for perpetrators and collaborators to stop the impunity with which these heinous crimes are being committed.
Kingsley, the Senate, while lamenting the growing security problems in parts of the country, has called on the federal government repeatedly to pay special attention to the situation, stressing the need for an all-inclusive security summit. This followed a motion that drew the attention of the Senate to the murder of the daughter of Pa Ruben Fasarati, leader of Afenifere Group, along the Akure-Ore Expressway.
That's right. Now, the Senate, of course, expressed fears that insecurity in the country could lead to a breakdown of law and order. And therefore, that's the senators now calling on service chiefs to immediately commence regular patrols along the country's highways as part of the measures to ensure security of lives and property. In the same vein, the House of Reps has also added its voice to what needs to be done to reduce the insecurity level in the country.
And despite all this, Kingsley, security analysts have been commending measures already in place by the federal government to curtail the security situation in the country, which unfortunately does not seem to be enough as the killings and kidnappings have been getting worse. One of the measures put in place by the government is the launch of Operation Python Dance and Operation Puff Adder in different parts of the country.
Well, since the launch of those measures, Jumai, the hundreds of kidnapped victims have been rescued and hurt by police operatives, while a number of criminal suspects have also been arrested in many states. And of course, these are measures that have been undertaken by the military and the police, supported by state governments.
And, even as security agencies keep stressing that security is everybody's business, the issue of prioritizing the welfare of officers and uniformed men who put their lives on the line every day in their efforts to secure Nigeria and lives of Nigerians on a daily basis, it's critical.
Well, how did the security situation in the country deteriorate to the current level? And what are the efforts that need to be made in addition to what's already been taken to ensure that the country reverses the current unacceptable level, as cited in many quarters, of the insecurity in the country? So what is the way forward? These are the issues, of course, that we should be asking our guests when we get into our conversation segment on Good Morning Nigeria today. On that note, we welcome you. My name is Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Juma Yusuf, joining my colleague Kingsley to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, focusing on addressing Nigeria's security challenges. Just to remind you that, as usual, we shall present our companion segments, which include newspaper review, business, and others. This morning news is now with Chimobi Walter in Nigeria. Hello, Chimobi. How are you this morning? How did you feel with the match?
Thank you very much, Jume. I feel great, actually, and many thanks for asking. Well, I had to watch yesterday the moment I noticed that Nigerian team came out in very beautiful jerseys and ready to kick the game. I had to watch. Thank you very much for asking anyways. Good morning and welcome to the morning news. The federal government has promised to do whatever it takes towards bringing back the numerous job opportunities exported to other countries at the expense of Nigerians through unnecessary importation of goods and services. President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated this when he received the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, said Nigeria has everything required to meet the basic need of its citizens.
With abundant resources, our history of unnecessary importation of the most basic items meant we were exporting jobs to other countries at the expense of our own citizens. This administration is determined to bring these jobs back to Nigeria.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has approved a new official portrait for display in all public offices, buildings, and for other legitimate purposes. A statement from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation directs that all ministries, departments, agencies of government, sub-national entities, businesses, and the public should obtain soft copies of the portrait for the Office of the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Radio House, Abuja, as well as the Office of the Director, Information, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Shehu Shagari Complex, 3 Arms Zone, Abuja. Now, sample copy of the new official portrait of the President can also be viewed and downloaded on the official website of the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation on www.osgf.gov.ng. Now, issues related to the economy, security, and enhanced livelihoods for the nation's majority were discussed as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbadabiamila.
What we have discussed are those things that will ensure that the people of Nigeria are better protected, that the economy of Nigeria performs better to the inclusion of everyone in the country, that governance generally is able to achieve the set targets of providing security and welfare for Nigerians. And you know that this is a new leaf in the relationship between the legislature and the executive arm of government.
And in the meantime, the Senate has confirmed the appointments of Justice Ibrahim Muhammad Tanko as Chief Justice of Nigeria, and this was, however, not without getting answers on some issues bordering on the functions of the judiciary.
Distinguished members of the Parliament, both here and at the state level, if need be, we take a holistic look at our criminal laws.
That the judiciary is also properly remunerated. If we are asking our judges to be above board, we should also play our part. So you have a National Assembly that will work with you. The nomination of Honorable Justice Ibrahim Tanko is hereby confirmed as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
And to other matters now, the Presidential Election Petition Court has subpoenaed the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, to produce some documents regarding the conduct of the presidential election of February 23, 2019. The 5-man panel of justices, led by Justice Muhammad Garba, gave the order following a subpoena issued and served on the chairman of the commission on the 15th of July 2019. And still with the same matter, the 2019 general election have been applauded by many, although the processes were not without hitches relating to operational and logistics areas. For some others, these and other areas of concern have been reviewed at a round table convened by the Electoral Institute, the training and research arm of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
The point that we're raising is that, yes, the election has come and gone, But if we don't try to begin to address some of these issues, we will repeat it again in 2023.
We projected in 2019, but our projection was far below what we came across. There are some salient questions we must ask ourselves. In 2023, what will be the total number of voters that we expect in Nigeria?
One of the biggest areas of challenge during the elections was really operational and logistics challenges. So this is what we are here to interrogate today.
And finally, on security, in furtherance of the efforts by the police at ensuring safety and security of lives and property, the free flow of traffic and the protection of commerce and other economic activities, as well as the more coordinated handling of peaceful protests, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has restricted all forms of protests within the Federal Capital Territory to the Unity Fountain Central Business District, Abuja. By this directive, intending protesters are requested to steer clear of all critical national infrastructure, especially the 3-arm zone and other sensitive security areas. They are, however, at liberty to assemble and conduct peaceful protests within the Unity Fountain, the authorized protest zone. In a statement by the Force Public Relations Officer Frank Mba, the restriction is sequel to a series of protests in various parts of Abuja, which most times had brought the capital city to a standstill, crumbling economic activities and inflicting untold hardship on motorists and the general public. The IGP seeks the cooperation and understanding of would-be protesters in maintaining public order and protecting the rights and freedom of innocent Nigerians. And that's the news highlight for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Jemai just after the break to stay.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to take some business stories with an investment expert calling for the recycling of pension funds in the economy for value addition. Our correspondent Kunle Adeyeye has details of the story.
We will start with pension matters, where an investment promotion expert, Ogbona Okuku, has urged pension administrators in Nigeria to give contributors the opportunity to recycle certain portions of their contributions in the economy. He believes such funds should not be made stagnant when the economic environment is receptive to investments from different sectors. Mr. Okuku said this is what obtains in Chile, where Nigeria has borrowed its pension scheme.
Just recently, the PwC report that said that we have over $900 billion dead capital in Nigeria. That's to show you that a lot of money is tied in just buildings which are not functional, that we must make functional. So those funds have to be brought out from where they are and then plunge back into things that would bring in material wealth to our people.
In another development, the Airline Operators of Nigeria (AON) says foreign airlines had dominated the country's airspace, resulting in about $3 billion capital flight annually, and called on the federal government to support domestic carriers. The chairman AON Nongi Megerson made the appeal while soliciting government support for Nigerian airlines on international routes. He said this will mean more jobs for Nigerian youths and over 600 unemployed Nigerian pilots, and more contribution to the Nigerian economy and gross domestic product. And here is a quick check on how the equities market fared on Wednesday. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you, Kunle. Newspaper review is next on Good Morning Nigeria.
Our newspaper reviewer Bayo Atoyebe is right here with us in the studios for the review of the two papers that we have this morning. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
We have the Daily Trust newspaper to start with today. Yes. Okay. And just below the masthead, we have Muhammad confirmed as CGN, says corruption more at lower courts. You find that on page 3. Now, how neglect stunts Nigeria's dairy sector? That's on page 26. House of Representatives asks IGP to take over Edo Assembly. You find that on page 13. And the bold headlines there, 8 weeks after inauguration, 26 governors yet to form cabinet. And then we have the picture story, illustrating the states that have already appointed commissioners, cabinet appointment in states so far, 24 awaiting cabinet nominations, 3 inaugurated, 2 nominated, no governorship elections. And at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, disregard order to quit South, Buhari tells herders. Find that on page 7. Delayed cabinet won't affect 2020 budget. Lawan, that's the Senate President. You find that on page 5. And concerns over multiple destinations for foreign carriers. That's on page 17. Bye.
Yes. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has declared that all citizens of Nigeria are free to move and live within any part of the country they please, whether they are originally from there or not. This declaration was made and the president enjoined all citizens to ignore what it described as infamous and unwarranted order by the Northern Elders Forum and other co-travelers. The president further declared that no one has the right to ask anyone or group to depart from any part of the country, whether north, south, east, or west. A statement was signed by Senior Special Assistant of the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, who says that in line with the Constitution, government will protect citizens of Nigeria wherever they find themselves. This is in reaction to the Northern Elders Forum statement advising some northern youths, including some northern youths, calling on Fulani herders to leave southern part of the country. The statement says all citizens are enjoined to ignore the unwarranted order and statement. Meanwhile, the All Progressive Congress has also cautioned leaders over inciting statements over security situation in the country. The National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Lanre Issa Onilu, says terrorism, kidnapping, banditry, and armed robbery, and other crimes are all condemnable by all parties, and there is nothing like Isoko, Gwari, or Awori robber. Criminality has no tribe in the eyes of the law. The All Progressive Congress says that public is now concerned over cases of violent crime in parts of the country, including the unfortunate killing of Mrs. Funke Olakunre. The party asks that recent reckless and provocative statements ascribed to some leaders is a dangerous reminder that many genocides in the world started through unchecked prejudices, systematic profiling, or racial, political, and cultural groups. Therefore, called on our leaders to have a duty to be temperate in their language in order not to cause anxiety all over the country. We may not always agree in some of the issues in our national life, but we must continue to explore peaceful and legitimate means to tackle our disagreement. So those are the words of caution. Rwanda readily comes to mind. It's just tagging one ethnic group as cockroaches, get escalated, pronounced on the radio, and before you knew it, 900 citizens were killed in the period of over 100 days.
It
was more than 1 million, actually.
You said 900.
900,000.
And incidentally, on the 25th anniversary of the Rwanda genocide, we had guests here discuss the topic, including the chargé d'affaires at the time, who gave us the background to what happened and what the traumatic experience was like for those who were in country and those who were outside, and the process of healing and reconciliation that took place thereafter. But the losses were obviously horrendous.
Yes.
And just inside the Daily Trust newspaper, I know it's something Kingsley wants to talk about. Nigeria Eagles peep Tunisia 1-0 to win consulate. Bronze medal, actually.
No, not me talking about it. It's Bio. Bio is,
Well, those of us that sit always on the patriotic side are very glad. At least we have a golden bronze to take from the AFCON. Don't forget, that is the 8th bronze that the Super Eagles will win from AFCON. It's one of the nations that has participated mostly in the 32 tournaments of the African Championship. But however, the other consolation was that Trust Ekon also was the man of the match yesterday. However, many football fans, including myself, were very edgy for the whole of the 93 minutes because the goal came in the 3rd minute, and for 92 minutes we were very, very edgy. The Super Eagles should reduce the tempo at which they raise our blood pressure.
And I think these new young players are sort of changing the way the game is played. It's they are a lot more. They have a flair for it.
Well, that is the positive side of this team. Yeah. The average age of the players there is about 22, 25. And so their potential for the future is quite very high. And if we can keep them and they can progressively develop, we have a strong team that could equal what we used to call the dream team the other time. You remember?
Yeah.
Won the Olympic medal.
But there were serious tactical and technical issues with that team. And the competence of the managers, has to be interrogated. Seriously, our style of football and the style being introduced by the handlers. These are things that we need to reconcile. We need to reconcile. Some persons have argued, for instance, that the needless substitution in the match against Algeria was what cost us that match. And then you find that you're leading, was it against South Africa?
Yes.
We're leading 1-0, and then you decided to sit deep into your own half, soaking up all the pressure. Yeah. That's not Nigeria's style of football. If you scored against us, we're certain to score against you when we had a dream team. You saw what happened in the dream team. So there are technical deficiencies, and we keep changing our advisors, our technical advisors, and usually the flair is to go and hire a foreign coach. What foreign coach coached Super Falcons? What was the outcome?
Incidentally, the two teams that are playing in the final have African coaches.
That's right. When you take a look at your bench, see that when we had Nigerian coaches, they were treated shabbily.
Yeah.
Shabbily. I mean, you remember that? Where it was Schweiber, late Schweiber,
Samson Siasia,
late Stephen Keshi, Samson Siasia. They all treated shabbily.
In fact, Olise could not tolerate it and he had to quit. Yes. Anyway, our lessons have been learned, and we'll improve from that.
Okay, well, the next editorial this morning is coming from the Punch newspaper. And it's at page 20. Non-remittance of pensions by 21 states. Bio.
Well, non-remittance of pensions by 21 states has been raised as a critical danger, and the statistics are very frightening. It is only Lagos, Edo, Kaduna, and the Federal Capital Territory that are complying and remitting deductions from their workers. And this is how it works. The state government, the employer, either the state government or the federal government, pays a portion. The employer themselves also have deductions made from their salary, and this is required to be remitted to the PENCOM as part of the contributory pension scheme. But the deductions are by the employer, by the state government, they are not remitting. And according to records so far, you have 24 states that as 2018, 21st state have joined the contributory pension scheme, but as many as only 4 states are remitting deductions. In fact, from the list given here, Ogun State had not remitted for over a period of 108 months. Niger State stopped remitting since 2015. And of all the states, 5 states are working on just starting at the preparatory state, having a bill to institute a contributory pension scheme. 1 state has not started anything at all. And the danger here is that if you don't have this contributory pension scheme in place, the burden that we have had with the old pension scheme will continue. And the whole idea is that you share the cost of pension. The pensioner, the worker, contributes and the employer contributes, and this will accumulate. And since the year 2004, when the old pension scheme was supposed to have come to an end, the percentage that had been contributed under the old scheme is saved as a bond with the central bank. And when the worker retires, this is what will accumulate to form what becomes his pension. And if we are not saving for the rainy day, or deductions are made and that they are not remitted, it means the state governments that are culpable are all violating the pension law they have signed.
That's right. That's a very important point about why are there no remittances, and who is withholding those remittances, and who should be held liable. These are the issues. And then who should lead the campaign? What is the NLC saying about this? Can we have, some, as it were, scapegoats?
Yes. Yes. The NLC is being challenged by the editorial to lead the campaign against this. But apparently there's a violation of the law. And the operational model is that the federal, for instance, at the federal level, the Federal Ministry of Finance deducts the employer's contribution and remits to PENCOM. Deduct from source and remit to PENCOM. That should be the mode at all the states level.
But why is it so difficult to do it? It's something that is clearly outlined, and then they don't remit. What happens when somebody retires?
Then you're going to have another pension crisis.
Yes.
Particularly at the subnational level. So sometimes the kind of discretion exercised by state governments is worrisome.
It is.
In Ogun State, for instance, pensioners for over 2-3 years are still waiting. They've not had payments made for them. Their pension, they are still waiting.
So sad.
All right, Bayo, thanks a lot for being around.
Thanks for having me too.
Yeah. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria, still on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be talking security matters and how to more properly address the issues.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
One football confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hot Sports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
For our conversation on Good Morning Nigeria today, on addressing Nigeria's security challenges, here's a background put together by Victor Azu.
In the last 1 week, the Nigerian media has been awash with tales of the murder of Funke Olakunrin, daughter of Reuben Fashoranti, leader of the Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere, the murder of the uncle of Senator Elisha Abo, and abduction of his stepmother, and the kidnap of the murder of former Super Eagles coach Samson Siasia. Add this to terrorism, banditry, and herders farmers clashes already being contended with across the country, and you get a near complete picture that suggests a surge in insecurity in the country. These incidents have kept the nation's security agencies on their toes, unexpectedly given the government cause for concern. While the Nigerian army has launched operations like the Python Dance, the Nigerian police launched the Operation Puff Adder, with both aimed at tackling the security challenges.
And to commence the Operation Puff Adder, which is a well thought out and major operation that is aimed at redominating and reclaiming the public space.
Other agencies of government have also launched programs aimed at checking loopholes that in turn fuel crime and criminality. The Nigeria Immigration Service recently flagged off migrants' e-registration program aimed at documenting foreigners who stay in the country beyond 90 days and keeping them inside.
This data is very, very significant to national development. It's significant for statistical analysis. It's also good for our national security.
On the other hand, the reformation program of the Nigerian prisons is aimed at equipping inmates with skills and starter packs to begin a new life free of crime after serving their jail terms and contributing meaningfully to society.
Apart from enabling them to contribute their own quota to our national development, it eases their integration process and reduces insecurity in the nation as they have been productively engaged in activities that will benefit themselves and the society at large.
However, all of these have not managed to turn the tide. What else can be done to mitigate the nation's security challenges? Are there better approaches to addressing insecurity in Nigeria that security agencies can adopt? What is the role of the citizenry in all of these? These are some of the questions that guests on Good Morning Nigeria will answer shortly.
And joining us now to discuss ways and efforts so far deployed in addressing Nigeria's security challenges is Frank Uba, Force PRO. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and good morning, Nigerians, indeed.
And also seated with us here in the studio in Abuja is Mike Ejiofor. He is the former Director, Department of State Security Services, Acting President, Alumni Association, Institute of Security Studies and Security Consultant. You're welcome to Good Morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
All right, we also have with us in the Abuja studios Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, who is the Chief of Training and Operations at Army Headquarters. Lieutenant General Adeosun, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, Nigeria.
And congratulations on your decoration as Lieutenant General.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and joining us from our Jos Network studios, would like to also welcome Brigadier General John Temlong. John Temlong is a regular face in Good Morning Nigeria. He's former commander, Multinational Joint Task Force around the Lake Chad area. General Temlong, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning. All right, gentlemen, once again, we would like to welcome you to the program. But let's begin with the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Frank Uba, who is also the first Public Relations Officer. You listen to the background report, and of course, in the daily conversations, daily exchange of communication amongst Nigerians, various accounts of tales of insecurity around the country. Are these accounts exaggerated, or they indeed mirror the level of insecurity in various parts of the country?
Well, thank you. I acknowledge the fact that there are challenges in the land, and that's clearly a fact. The only thing, however, that some of these accounts have not taken into cognizance or taken into proper perspective are also the gains that the police and the military and other law enforcement agencies are actually making. Yet, I will acknowledge the fact that we are not yet in the promised land as far as security is concerned in this country. But the truth is, we are way, way, way out of the desert and heading in a positive direction. I can explain why. Soon after the elections, you will understand the kind of situations we had on the north central areas, like Kogi State, for example, Kaduna State, for example, the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway, for example. Some of those areas were becoming almost impassable. But soon after the launch of Operation Pofada and the review of the strategies that had been in place before the coming in of the new Inspector General of Police, we began to have a better hold of the situation. And within a space of 2 months, we were able to clear the entire length of Abuja-Kaduna Expressway. We were able to decimate clearly all the gangs that were operating in that axis. And today, as I speak to you, that axis is entirely free. That axis is entirely safe. There are over 20 villages and settlements between Abuja and Kaduna. Most of those villages were deserted, but today they've all returned. Commercial activities, farming is back. Transporters are doing their normal businesses. And that's not just the case. You could also notice that because of the kind of strategies we put in place, you've not been getting those reports of incessant killings and clashes, even in Kaduna State as a whole. And we have moved the same strategy down to Zamfara. Zamfara was almost becoming intractable until we reviewed the strategies in place and discovered that core law enforcement strategies, core military strategies alone are not sufficient to deal with the challenges there. The new Commissioner of Police, CP Usman Nagago, came in and we began to implement a new strategy that were community-oriented. They were practical community policing strategies. And as I speak to you today, we have rescued well over 120 persons who were hitherto held incommunicado. We've been able to stabilize Zamfara. And we are replicating those strategies in places like Katsina and the rest of the places. As I speak to you, if you look at the achievements we have made on the platform of Operation Pofada, you will, they speak volume. Within this short period, for example, we've been able to arrest over 2,500 suspected kidnappers. The bulk of these suspects are currently undergoing prosecution in various courts of the land. We've also been able to recover a total of 1,360 assorted weapons, including 2 rocket launchers. We've also recovered well over 20,000 rounds of ammunition of different caliber. If I want to be exact, it's actually 20,254. And in one swoop, we recover 6,000 rounds of ammunition from a particular arms smuggling syndicate that we were able to decimate, that we were able to dismantle that syndicate. It tells you the kind of work we've done behind the walls.
All right, DCP Francoba, thank you very much for your response. Just let's bring in Mike Ejiofor, who's a retired director of DSS and currently acting president of the Alumni Association of the Institute of Security Studies. Before we bring in the military perspective to all of this, the numbers that the first public relations officer has read out, hundreds of persons who have been freed from captivity, so many numbers equal or more of kidnappers who have been arrested, and a wide variety of weapons and so on and so forth. Look, any person who apprehends these figures will ask himself, listen, was Nigeria in a state of war, for instance? What is your reading of what went on before and why those things went on that you just had gangsters, who were on the loose?
Well, I think before I go into that, I must commend the police in line with what the first PRO has said. In a game, when you concede a goal, people get angry. But when you are winning, nobody knows the effort you are putting in winning the game. Much as I agree with what he has said, he said there's change of leadership in the police, for instance. There's now more synergy in terms of intelligence sharing between the SSS and the police and other security agencies. But also, like he has said, we are not there yet, especially in the area, the Southwest, which is now a very big challenge. And I want to see the police carry out the same type of operations that they carried out along Kaduna, Abuja axis. That area was virtually impassable. The threat of security, kidnapping, and all the rest of them. But to God be the glory for now, I think the area is stabilizing. It's not that there are no incidents. There might be isolated cases. You can't rule them out. I want the police to further go down to the Southwest, because my concern is that these terrorists, they have nothing to do with headers. I've continued to emphasize this. When people say herdsmen, these are no herdsmen. These are just terrorists who are out to destabilize the country. And we must look at it. Becomes very, very difficult because they are not organized. There's no leadership. You cannot engage anybody in particular. So it becomes a problem. And that's why the security agencies are finding it a little difficult to contend with. But I think with the new offensive and the onslaught and change of strategies, I think Nigerians should be ready to have a sleep with their eyes closed.
That's lovely. I'll be coming to you now, General Lamide Adeosun, coming from a volatile area like Borno State, Boko Haram in the northeast, violent clashes in the Middle Belt area, disputes over rights to land and waterways and all that can be overwhelming at times. So the military is all over the place. Let's look at the military from the perspective of having enough personnel to fight this kind of insecurity in the country. Where are you coming from there now?
Thank you very much. I want to commend the first public relations officer of the Nigerian police for all he has reeled out in terms of positive successes that the police is making. So also Mr. Ejiofor on his own comment too. Particularly for the military, as you asked. Yes, the military is stretched all over the place, but I just also want to state that the military is not in it alone, just like the police is not in it alone. It's an aggregate of combined efforts of the Nigerian Army, other sister services, and the Nigerian police with other security agencies that is culminating into all the successes that you are making. Civil security is the primary responsibility of the police. But when it becomes overwhelming, as per the Constitution of Nigeria, the military, particularly the army, must wade in. And that is what has informed the military being involved everywhere. And also, we know what our country is. Until now, there's not too much trust in the police. And we keep saying that we must develop trust in our own police so that we appreciate their capacity and what they can do. If we build the trust in them with what they continue to do, it will also give the military opportunity to concentrate efforts in specific areas where we can deal decisively with whatever the challenge is on the ground and on time. Thereafter, withdraw to other areas. And we can see this coming to play now with what the police and other security agencies with the military are doing across board. That's on a general note. Now to specifics. Yes, myriads of problems, but despite the fact that the resources are stretched, the personnel are stretched, yet I want to say without mincing words that the Nigerian Army with other sister services and security agencies with the Nigerian police are really doing so much. And our society, which is Nigeria, should continue to realize the soldiers, the police, other security agencies are Nigerians. We feel it. Those of us that are given the responsibility of providing physical security, we feel it more than them because our sleepless night is on how do we save our people? How do we protect our people? How do we maintain the integrity of our dear country for ourselves before you even think of people from outside? So we can say that with the present situation, when we go into history, we look at 1967 to 1970, the Nigerian Civil War. The strength of the army was just about 50,000. But within the space of those 3 years, within that small geographical space, the strength of the army then rose to 250,000 until after the war, when there had to be some form of demobilization. But as we speak, we are already 10 years into what is going on. The strength of the army is just between 115,000 and 120,000. When you now look at the geographical space of the northeastern part of Nigeria, where we have to concentrate some efforts and also spread it to Niger Delta, spread it to northwest, southwest, north central, in fact to all the geopolitical zones of the country, you can see the enormity of the challenges that, despite the enormity of the challenges, were seriously rising to the occasion.
Well, General, thank you very much. What are the numbers now in terms of deployment? Because at some point we heard that the military had operational bases, if you like, in at least 32 states of the Federation. Is it that now you are collaborating with sister agencies and the police in all 36 states of the Federation, minus Abuja, of course, which doesn't appear to have military presence in terms of operational duties?
Okay. In Abuja, we shouldn't conclude that there's no operation. We have, we wouldn't have been able to sleep with our eyes closed in Abuja if we don't have, Mr. Frank Mba will attest to that. But it's not every time you see the masquerade. At times, the masquerade, the big masquerade is behind and giving the inspiration and spirit to other masquerade to be seen outside. So there are operations going on, but it's not captioned in the typical Operation Lafia Dole, Operation Poor Father, Operation Radarin Daji. It's not captioned that way. That's about Abuja. In the 33 states of the Federation, yes, there is one form of operation or the other. But in majority of the states, it is called Operation Mesa, and it's a joint security operation, mostly supported by the state governments to address local security situations. Those that are of general nature are the ones you have, like Operation Python Dance, that was part of the initial clips that were shown this morning. Operation Adarin Daji, Operation Safe Conduct, exercise Aribin Kunama, and all those stuff. What I want to also say here is that all those exercises and operations, they are not done only by the army. They are joint operations in support of the civil police. And it involved the participation of all other security agencies.
All right, General Adeosun, thank you very much. Let's return to our Jos Network Center, where we allow introduce General John Temlong. General John Temlong, of course, you'll listen to the three guests with us here in the Abuja studios, and we've heard you from time to time discussing security issues. What's your general take on the security situation in the country and the responses thereto?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Let me start by congratulating for his promotion. He has proved me right. Now, to the security issue, I think you don't need a soothsayer to have told you that things were getting really bad in this country and people were sitting on edge. I thank God we've heard what the police have said that they were doing in terms of order and the rest. But what I think that they need to do more is to be proactive and be ahead of these bad guys, because what seems to be happening now is reactive. And once you are reactive, then it means these people have the initiative. You can see what has happened in the southwest recently. So if you are dominating the Jos Kaduna, the Abuja Jos axis, Abuja Kaduna axis, and then Zamfara Katsina, now they have relocated to the southeast, where you find out that they are in the forest there and are hitting around Ore and the rest. What is more important is, I think, is getting the citizens to key into this operation, because it is a citizen-based operation and the intelligence must come in from the citizens. And so what we need is to build the capacity of our citizens to be able to react and to be able to inform the police or security agencies of strange movements or even camping of certain elements in certain areas, so that they can proactively handle them. Because if they strike, it's deadly, like what happened last weekend. So we need to be ahead of them. And to that effect, I think we need to look at the defense policy that was approved in 2017. I think it should be implemented, because it is a citizen-based defense policy which now puts up the citizens' responsibilities as to national defense and security. And that means that building the capacity right from our primary schools, right to the tertiary institutions, and then the civil societies and the citizens as a whole, to be able to detect and report suspicious elements in the society. Because once these people know that they have eyes all over the place looking at them, it becomes more difficult for them to operate, to have a free line and operate the way they are operating. Moving arms and ammunition all over the country from point A to B without hindrance is quite deadly. We need to be ahead of them. And to this effect, I think what the armed forces say they are doing, they need to deploy more of technology too, because you need a force multiplier. If your numbers are not enough, then you need more technology. You need to deploy more technology that will be a force multiplier for you, so that you can have hard-hitting mobile forces that can react to intelligence that has been gathered from these intelligence sources. So that will ameliorate the problems of numbers for you, especially even in the northeast too. We have these problems of vast land, like you said, and it's quite difficult to do that. But be that as it may, we had about 2 years ago a national security seminar organized by the Alumni Association of National Defense College, which actually looked at all the ungoverned spaces in these countries, especially the forest areas. And we found out that the forest guards that they are there do not have a scheme of service. Their numbers are quite low, and they are not able to stand or even report when people come and occupy their forests. We recommended that they should look at the numbers of the forest guards, look at the way of introducing technology for them to be able to patrol those vast forest areas, and improve their lethality, so that they can be able, because these people are armed,
and have an improved service schemes for the forest guards, that will be a way of having good and quick and timely intelligence that will allow the security agencies be able to strike at these people wherever they go and hide in this forest. You find out that they use the forest all over the place, and here in Jos too, they use the mountains too. So I think we need to do something about that as quickly as possible. Look at the forest guards, increase their numbers, build their capacities, increase their lethality, and then add technology for them to be able to patrol the vast forest areas that we have in this country. If not, we are going to have a situation where these people will build up in strength in some of this, especially in the southwest there and southeast. If they build up in strength there, it becomes difficult to dislodge them. So we must be ahead of them. The security services must be proactive. We shouldn't be reactive. You see, the population gets very agitated the moment you hear 1, 2, 3 people are being killed, especially on the roads. And when you start traveling from point A to B, it becomes a nightmare. Even sleeping in your house, it becomes a nightmare because kidnappers are all over on the sprawl. So I think we need to do more, because your numbers cannot do, but the citizens must be able to assist and help you in carrying out your responsibilities. And in fact, there used to be what we call citizens arrest. I don't know whether it still exists. We must build the capacity of our citizens to be able to even arrest people who are around and who are showing tendencies that they are not good people. And with the flaunting of wealth here and there, sometimes it beats my whole my imagination to see that some of these riffraffs that are being arrested as kidnappers, are they the ones actually using these large sums of money that they have been taking as ransoms? I think we need to, the intelligence organization need to do more. They might have some kingpin somewhere that they are sending these boys. Because if you get somebody, if somebody gets up to 100, 200,000 naira, and then he starts, he will remain in those forests and looking as wretched as they are, I think we need to do more, because they might have some people somewhere, some kingpin somewhere who are behind them. And once we start flushing them and getting at their root, then we'll have to, because the road should not respect anybody. People should know that these people are being punished, not just when we come on to Good Morning Nigeria that we are hearing that. We want, in fact, all these cases of kidnap, of armed robbery, armed banditry, and the rest must be given publicity, as it were, so that the moment you jail anybody in regards to these sort of things, the whole country should know, the whole world should know, so that we are now having confidence to know that there is rule of law in this country and people are being punished for misdemeanors. But once you don't see people being punished for these sort of crimes, then it sort of encourages the young ones who are doing that. In fact, here, sometimes they do take ransom up to 50,000 naira for kidnap. In Jos here. It's so sad. It's so sad. So it means it's an all-comers game now. So I think we need to do more. We need to be ahead of them. We need to be proactive. I sympathize with the security agencies because it's quite tasking and it's a daunting task, but it's not impossible. It has been done before. It can still be done, and I'm sure it will be done with the caliber of people that we have here at the helm of affairs. Thank you very much for now.
Okay, General Temlong, there's these speculations that says the solution to insecurity in Nigeria requires a multi-stakeholder approach to quelling insecurities threatening the Nigerian statehood, and the Senate is calling for a security summit. What's your take on that?
They will get the required people, or it will not be a jamboree. There have been so many security summits in this country, and they have not used their reports. And you don't even just do it at the national level. This thing should transfer right down to the local levels, because who are those who are suffering it? It's right down. So there is no, the talking is important. It's very important. In fact, it shouldn't be a once and for all thing. It has to be a continuous thing. Like I said, you have to be proactive and be ahead of the bad guys. And the only way you can be ahead of them is to be sharing intelligence, like they said, and to be proactive. And so we need a multi-sectoral approach. And that's why I said you need a citizen's approach to it. It can't just be security agencies alone. No, they are not. They're not everywhere. They're not everywhere, and it's not possible for them to do that, except unless we cooperate with them, we give them the requisite intelligence that they require, we help them and cooperate with them, then they can be able to provide security for us. I've said it that security is like first aid for the person you are rendering. If you do not keep yourself safe before the security people come, then they only come and carry dead bodies or casualties. So the citizens must be able to stay safe, know how to stay safe, just like you're able to apply yourself first aid before the medics have arrived. So I welcome the idea of the Senate Security Summit. I hope they will get the requisite and required people who will come and talk. I hope it's not going to be a normal talk shop. And I hope that at the end, the recommendations of those proceedings will be properly used and analyzed and used. And it shouldn't just end at the national level. It should go right down to the states. If they cannot go down to the states, let them go to the zonal levels. Because what is happening in the Southwest is not the same as what is happening in the Northwest. Nor is it the same as what's happening in the Northeast, Southwest, and South-South. The challenges we are facing in the North Central are different. So we need to aggregate all those solutions to the challenges we are facing in those areas and come out with workable solutions, not textbook solutions. Solutions that are workable, and that there must be the political will to implement the solutions. Thank you.
General Temlong, thank you very much there for your response. We'll return to you shortly. But let's come back to our studios. Frank Umba, the Deputy Commissioner of Police and Force Public Relations Officer. Well, as we said, all geopolitical zones virtually are impacted by incidents of insecurity. I mean, the other day, there were television reports, indicating that from Yenagoa to Port Harcourt, passengers in commercial buses are kidnapped, by persons who just emerged from the bush or wherever, and they take them to wherever they take them. And you have all kinds of incidents. So what is played out from what we know, and therefore how can you more readily mobilize citizens to aid the policing authorities, first with information and intelligence, and also, prompt reports of those incidents to enable immediate follow-up and stop the bad guys in their tracks?
Okay, let me start by saying, first of all, let me comment on what the general said. I mean, he actually captured some of the challenges very, very clearly. And if I should merge his comments with your questions, let me start by telling you the approach or the approaches the current IGP Mohammed Abubakar Damu is adopting. Our current anti-crime strategies and law and order approaches are based on 4 prongs. The first is what we call community engagement, and that seems to be in line with what you are just probing on. Community engagement, which when you expand it, it includes the whole concept of community policing, which I will return shortly to just talk on, and then the issue of a policing solution that are technologically based, and then a policing solution that are intelligence driven, and a policing solution that that is based on interagency collaboration. And what we are doing across the different parts of the country is actually to mobilize citizens to begin to key into national security consciousness, particularly through the concept and policy of community policing. And when I talk community policing, I'm not talking about a fiction. I'm talking of something that is pragmatic, something that is practical, and something that is already being practiced. Community policing simply means community engagement and collaboration with the police and other law enforcement agencies. It means citizens partnering, citizens forging a relationship with the local police. It involves citizens getting involved in finding solution to the local security challenges they have. It means citizens turning in information and helping the intelligence wing of the police. It's something that we need, and without it, we may never get out of the wood. And I give you one simple example. When the district head of Castina was kidnapped, the district head of Dara was kidnapped and kept away for weeks. At the end of that case, after we launched that daring and successful rescue, we arrested about 13 suspects. One died, and the 14th person actually died in the course of exchange of gunfire. When we profiled those suspects, we discovered that 5 of them were from Katsina State, and 4 specifically, 5 of them are from Katsina State, and 4 specifically are from Daura. We took it a step further to the location where they were rescued from. We profiled further suspects and discovered that 2 are from Kano. That's exactly the place where the rescue operation took place. Then part of this, again, is to compel the need to engage community in policing. Because you could see clearly that it would have been near impossibility, if not clearly impossible, for anyone, for any criminal gang to have carried out that operation without local collaborators. It also implies that for us to be able to secure each and every community in Nigeria, you need local support. If the locals had worked against the gang, they would clearly have not succeeded in taking the respected statesman. And then where he was kept, if there were no persons in the gang or who are ready collaborators working with them, they probably wouldn't have understood the terrain in Kano and to know where they could safely keep the man for that long. Therefore, it is just a confirmation of our belief in the concept and ideal of community policing, that we must get community members engaged. And we are even taking it a step further. We are already beginning a process of collaboration with the National Youth Service, the NYSC, because we see that at the end of each year, a lot of youth corpers turn out. In short, some of the employers of labor even reject corpers who are posted to them. So we are beginning to talk to the NYSC to come up with a partnership, a scheme that will enable us come into the camp after the initial training that they get. Those who are ready to volunteer their time and services to be part of the community policing scheme will stay back in the camp for another 2 or 3 weeks and get another crash program, and then they return to the society, and wherever they are deployed, they also become part and parcel of the community policing scheme. So we are looking at robust, far-reaching, grassroots collaboration, and this will certainly help us to spread our reach, increase our data and coverage in terms of intelligence gathering, increase our visibility, and also try to break down the gulf between us and the community. Once members of the community begin to volunteer their services to become part and parcel of the community policing scheme, 1 or 2 things will begin to happen. The mystique between the police will begin to crumble. I mean, we need to open our doors more to the people. The police stations, the police formations, they are not they are not places where you have nuclear arsenals being stored. They are places where the community members should be able to come in. There is nothing secret about what we do. We are not one agency that are busy every day designing new methodologies of launching attacks. No. We must open our doors to the public, and the more we open it to them, the more we break down that wall, and the more we build confidence in the people. And the more they work with us, the more we gain the trust of the people, and then the better the security of the people and the state.
They say there's a need to revive moral values and virtues in our society, you know, in all aspects of our lives. And the moral leadership of people like politicians, the leaders, by their comments and acts, sometimes hits up the polity. You're talking about opening doors to the communities to reach out to the police, but most of them are afraid.
You see, you just raised two key issues. I totally agree with you that we also need to work more on reorienting ourselves, not just the law enforcement agents, but also members of the public. We need to get our priorities right. I have seen people, for example, in different parts of this country, not just in the southeast or southwest, people go back to communities, people move from one community to the other, take titles. And what is the yardstick for giving them traditional titles, big, high-sounding titles? They just come into the community, splash cash, money on the traditional institutions, and then the person comes back and he's given one big title. Nobody cares how the person has made his money. Nobody cares what the person does for a living. We must begin to get our priorities like leaders. And when I talk of leaders, I'm not just talking about the political leaders. Religious leaders also need to begin to walk their talk. And then you go to churches, and then they teach they just teach wealth from the beginning to the end. Nobody tells you about salvation. Nobody tells you about your civic responsibility to your country. And then these young men and women go out and then search for money, whether by crook or by hook.
All right, DCP Franco, thank you very much. I just want to bring in again the other two guests, General Lamidi Adeosun and Mike. We've referenced the necessity of having the community to be involved. But from what we know already from various security operations, how organized are the communities to take on this task? And what is the role of local governments? Earlier, General, you were talking about the fact that Operation Mesa and some other designations are usually collaborations between the military and other services and the state government. And you will often find these Operation Mesa trucks, the Hilos trucks around Government House. What happens to the local government? Minus urban areas where you have local governments, what happens in local governments? There are over 700 of them that, well, according to General Temblong and what is often reported, would amount to ungoverned spaces. What kind of cooperation do you get from the local governments? What kind of cooperation do you get from the communities? And how organized are those communities for this assignment where they say, look, it's part of your responsibility?
Thank you very much for support from the local authorities. In a state where you have the operation, it starts with the state government, and the deployment, the patrolling, does not stop at the state capital. It goes down to all the respective areas, especially the volatile areas where the challenge of insecurity is, and we relate with the local government chairman, relate with traditional rulers in all those far-flung local government areas where the challenge is real. it has been said before, it's not only physical human being, we also employ, apart from the collaboration with the security agencies, we also, in our own way, apply technology to also assist in some other ways. Otherwise, it would have been a very difficult task for us to be nowhere and everywhere as military men. And I will cite an example, especially the employment of technology, using Operation Safe Conduct as an example. During Operation Safe Conduct, apart from the establishment of the Nigerian Army cyber warfare place, then we have cameras in volatile areas all over the geopolitical zones of this country. Aside from that, the call number 193 is the short number for any Nigerian or anybody within Nigerian space to call a call center for the Nigerian Army.
How effective is it?
It's highly effective because if you call the call center, depending on where you are reporting from, the call center has a link to the local deployment in that general area. And aside from that, some of these operations that are localized in certain areas, they also have their own specific telephone lines that you can easily reach directly to assist. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes on for all the spate of successes that the army, the military, in conjunction with the police and other security agencies have been achieving. And I know we've not reached there, but I would like to mention, just like he said, hard security is not the only solution. So the military aspect of it is just like 1/4 of what is required. And I want to cite Zamfara also as an example. As at yesterday, the executive governor of Zamfara State visited the chief of army staff at the army headquarters. And what has he come to do? One, to appreciate the Nigerian army and particularly and other security agencies for the good job that has been done and is still being done in Zamfara State. Two, to recount some of what Mr. Frank Mba has already relayed about what carrot aspect of providing security has achieved, including foreign nationals that have been taken hostage or that have been kidnapped. Many of them have been released. The third reason is to appeal to the army to scale down its operation in Zamfara State, which means the military, the army, to be specific, is actually achieving the desired results everywhere in support of the Nigerian police. What has been analyzed by General Tony Long in terms of being proactive, in terms of intelligence, Nigerian police with other intelligence agencies in Nigeria, they are also working very hard. But we know we are not yet there, but a lot is being achieved. Even a place that is Zamfara, the executive governor can come and plead, scale it down your operation. You will discover that at least that is a testimony, practical. It was just yesterday, it's not a distant, and I think part of that interaction is already in the media, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a perfect example that, yes, we don't have the number, but in collaboration with others, with the use of technology, with improved intelligence, a lot is being done, and we will get there with the support of all Nigerians.
All right, General Adeosun, I would like you to repeat for the benefit of our viewers the call number for distressed persons, who are under assault or under attack by criminal elements to get in touch with the military.
It's 193. 193, just 3-digit number.
All right. Thank you very much, General Adeosun. And just a reminder to our viewers that it is an offense if you are not in distress to call that number. It's not a number to say, I just want to try it.
Better tell them, because Nigerians can just...
All right, so it's an offense. I mean, assuming you then get the troops or the detachment to be mobilized and it turns out to be a hoax, then of course you will be in for it. All right, but Chief Mike, let's return to you. Again, in terms of community organization, to be part of this, the security agencies are all over the local governments in the country. I mean, DSS everywhere. But I would like to raise this question again of how well organized are the communities? Whether traditional authority, I mean, there were some examples in the Northwest of some traditional persons being accused, of aiding and abetting some of these bandits. How well is the local government factored into this? We know that local governments have been emasculated in the governance arrangements, but beyond going to government house and the governor and the secretary to the state government being the only ones to deal with the brigade commander and whoever else is in charge, how well do we cascade down the organization, such as you used to have during the colonial authority, colonial era, so that information can come up by way of intelligence, information can also come up by way of support and encouragement?
Yeah, you see, before the advent of this democracy, our communities, our people have been existing through the traditional institutions. But what do you have now in the traditional institutions? Like Frank said, somebody can just acquire money from anywhere and become a traditional ruler. Nobody asks how he got the money. Just because he's affluent, he becomes a traditional ruler. Besides, in various communities, you have chieftaincy disputes. So in those such communities, how do you galvanize the people for community policing? So it therefore that our traditional institutions have been bastardized, and it becomes very difficult to mobilize the people for a common interest. Besides that, like Frank said, if you talk about community policing, police is the statutory agency charged with maintenance of internal security. And there is no way the police can achieve that without building confidence and trust of the people. He has highlighted steps and measures they can take, because that's the only way we can move forward. I also want to use this opportunity, because if it's something we would have discussed privately, but it's good that people know. The police cannot get the confidence and trust of the people when they are looked up as master servant. They are paid by taxpayers' money. And that's why I'm happy that the new IG is taking steps in adopting strategies. But it shouldn't stop as strategies of combating crime, but also of building confidence. I'll give you a practical example. If you go through between Okene, I've been saying this, and I want the PRO to take notice of that. People travel between Okene and Auchi through real horror. Between Lokoja and Okene, you see the police, the military deployed. They are there watching. And that is why the kidnapping on that axis has reduced. But between Okene is a nightmare traveling on that road. You see police overseeing themselves. And what do? They stop you, collect papers, insult you, because I personally, I don't introduce myself because I don't know who is who. I get my papers ready, but when you begin to go beyond the bounds to show proof of ownership, this, I tell you, listen, it's not that. But I can do that because I have the confidence to do it. But people who don't do it, they corrupt the police. And you come back to say that the police is corrupt. So the society also needs, they have roles to play in terms of supporting the police. It's our police, it's Nigerian police. So if they don't succeed, we'll all be in trouble. I also want all those people deployed. We have more than 10 police checkpoints between Okene and Ukpila, not Auchi now. And these people can be deployed to other areas to fight this scourge. Then secondly, I think in one of my outing 2-3 days ago, I also made that suggestion. The IG, the new IG, means well for Nigeria, so we must give him all the support. You look at our legislators, some VIPs, known 419s, are guided by the police. With the former, if you recall, the former Inspector General of Police, who was then the Police Service Commission chairman, said they have over 150,000 policemen deployed for guard protection. How many do we have? So these people, the IG can now look at a way of scaling down these protective details and deploy them. Police is overstretched. They don't have the manpower. I had one assistant commissioner of police on TV 2 days ago was saying that police are not recruited until recently, for over 10 years. You don't have constables, and you expect the police to perform. There's no way the police can perform under that stress condition. So police is actually going under stress. To further look at our community policing, when you build the confidence, people will work with the police. Now, I'm happy. One of the greatest challenges we're having is interagency rivalry. Do you hear of the SSS now? You hardly can hear of the SSS. Does it mean they're not working? Because there's that synergy, exchange of intelligence between the police and the SSS. Is an intelligence gathering organization, also an action agency. The police is the action agency. So when there is sufficient intelligence, people will be mobilized. And there's no way the State Security Service can get intelligence without the cooperation of the people. So the community, the people have roles to play to ensure that especially this issue of the terrorism.
Yeah, the issue is, how do you organize the communities themselves? Now you talked about the breakdown, for instance, in the traditional authority in some of the communities on account of the bastardization that has taken place. We have town unions, there are town unions, there are trade associations, and then of course there is the local government. How can we get them to be involved in all of this, to build the trust that you've talked about and the other guests have also talked about, and to energize the security agencies, and then everybody realizes that, look, this is our collective task and our collective interest?
Yeah, it starts from the local government. Because for now, the local government institution is the closest administrative unit to the people. So the local government should be able to call either some societies, social, cultural groups, town union developments, mobilize them on a common purpose, because the primary responsibility of government is security and welfare of the people. And if government cannot provide the security without the support of the people, government will not be playing. So the local government at that level should mobilize the communities, identify their common problems, look at who is in the community. The greatest problem we have is that people are not security conscious. Look at what Frank said about the arrest of the kidnappers who took the ML of the district head of Daura. These people have local collaborators, and within the communities, some people know them, but out of fear, they will not go to reveal this incident. And say, if we go to that place, police will tell them we are the source. But that is unfounded. Because for now, you don't need to physically go to the police. You can make calls, like the general said. You have these call lines. Police has call lines. The SSS has call lines. But I also want to suggest that these call lines should be, as a matter of urgency, circulated and publicized so that people are conscious and aware. People who are afraid to go to the stations can now make calls and support the police.
Yeah, and those numbers should not be too long. Not all these 11 digits. Sometimes you see them, they line them up, 7. How many of those numbers can you remember? A short number, 193, General Adeosun
Yes.
has said. The police had one, was it 121 or 122? We heard that for a while, we didn't hear it again. FROSC, that's Road Safety Corps, they also have as if we have a uniform number, so say for this purpose, call that. I think the NCC was also supposed to piggyback on that to get the... Yes, to get that. We can't be... Look, how many... Even if there are 3 digits, call 080774555. How many of those numbers?
Forget it. You can't even write it.
I think
all right, Frank.
Through that challenge at NCC, because NCC must do the right thing. I mean, NCC has the capacity to actually bring the service providers together and provide us nationally with something that is workable, working of course with other stakeholders like the police and the military. It's not something the military so moto on its own cannot just create that helpline, and the police can equally do it. We still have to go back to NCC, and they must make it easy and possible. This is something of national importance, not just national importance, urgent national importance, like our lawmakers will see. And let me just weigh in very quickly to the issue of how to work with the communities, particularly with the clear bastardization of our traditional institutions. What we have adopted and what the IGP is working on is we have looked at the community just beyond the geographical definition of community. So, for example, if you're talking of FCT or we're talking of Lagos or any other place, we look at the tertiary institutions within that city, for example. So we can deal with Unilag as a community.
Academic
we can
community.
Deal with LASU as a community. We can deal with Lagos State Polytechnic as a community. We go to Alaba, we deal with Alaba traders as a community. We go to Trade Fair, we go to Balogun Market, we go to Yaba Market, we deal with them as community. We deal with the banking sector and the financial institutions as a community. We deal with the transporters as a community. And you discover that each of these communities that I've mentioned have got specific challenges. And sometimes those challenges are common to them. So when you bring an initiative and bring a partnership or an engagement mechanism that is tailored and customized to tackling those specific challenges those communities are facing, you get a lot of support from them because they see you as responding directly to their needs. In the universities, for example, the IG has just ordered the resuscitation of the police students relations committee. We used to have it in the time past, but somehow it went moribund. And so what we're doing now is revive that relationship so that in every community where you have a tertiary institution, whether it's a college of education or a polytechnic or a university, whether it's private or publicly owned, there must be whether it's the DPO or the area commander or the commissioner, there must be a forum for the police and the student union leaders to meet regularly. And we are also, like my department, the public relations department, we also put in finishing touches to school visitation program, which is going to be massive because we want to catch the kids young. So we've also designed books that we're going to distribute free of charge. We also want to volunteer our services to some of these schools and come in even during the holidays and render volunteer services. We need to talk to them. We need to get them closer. We need to let them understand that it is not just the function of your dad or your mom to be security conscious. Security consciousness must begin even with the younger ones amongst us. And if we catch them young, we'll be able to actually develop the society better.
All right, thank you very much. Gentlemen, we're taking a short break now. When we return, we have some tweets. We'll take those tweets and then return to Just Network Center to get the views of General Temlong. All right, it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have our guests with us in the studios, and as we indicated, there are a number of tweets that have come in. We'll take those tweets now. Olusegun Moses tweets, security is the most important responsibility of any government. For Nigeria, we need to secure ourselves from within. That's the community, and not from the center, as it were. Then, job creation.
Amogbola Babs tweets, the situation without sentiments or emotions is worrisome. However, it's been with us for decades. What we fail to do as a people or as a nation is to tackle the menace frontally over time. This has therefore made the situation to be Hydra-headed banditry, kidnapping, Boko Haram, etc.
All right, this is coming from Dele Jack Solomon. The thirst for blood and the preference for violence in expressing pent-up frustration with the state, it's a pointer to the need for moral revival within the socio-economic, political, religious, and educational institutions of the country. We all must shun evil for Nigeria to be a peaceful and prosperous nation. And
Ombola again tweets, a number of issues are contributory to the seemingly intractable security porosity in the country. There are those who politicize the situation and turn it to ethnic crisis and stigmatization. There are those profiting financially from it and would rather it remained with us.
And this is from Sonny Michael Amakoje. The current spate of insecurity is a serious challenge to all. I feel as a patriotic Nigerian, the Peace Corps should be converted to community police instead of NPower beneficiaries who are trained as teachers and extension workers. I'm sure, Sonny Michael Amakoje, you didn't follow the controversy surrounding the legality or otherwise of the Peace Corps.
Yes, and first is Akimbo Ewa tweet, SAG, we are facing serious interconnected set of security challenges and underlying drivers. FG must come up with a comprehensive strategy to security that will be grounded in human rights, rule of law, accountable governance, justice, tolerance, and opportunity for all. Since changing people's behavior is the best way to address our security challenges, we should not expect the armed forces and police to deal with insecurity alone. There should be broader partnership with states, private sector, and communities and individuals.
All right, Joseph tweets, addressing security challenges is every citizen's responsibility. The communities should sanitize and do know your neighbors exercise in their communities where these criminals hide, and also give information directly to top police officers, not lower officers. Now, again, the security agencies should make available to the public means of getting to them, because some whistleblowers are afraid to disclose information.
And Ernesto A. Rika tweets, security should be a top priority for every government, even though we have to put in our individual efforts. It's high time Nigeria adopts a technology-oriented security network. But first of all, the use of guns should be checked because it is becoming a cheap commodity.
Chris Simeon, every year the government is spending huge amounts of money in tackling security challenges facing the country. Well, it is like all its efforts have proved abortive. Why? I'm sure, Chris Simeon, if you've been listening to the guests with us in the studios, you won't indicate that all the efforts have proved abortive.
Yes. And Cecilia Okoroma tweets, as we celebrate the army, police, etc. for their sacrifices, it's important that security agencies boost citizen security awareness program. And I'm coming to that now, Frank Muba. I'm coming to you with a question. They're asking.
I wanted us to go
to Just first.
Yeah,
yes.
If you, I'm sure that question, you will keep it for Frank Muba. Just to General Temlong in our Just Network Center. Imagine from the conversations and indeed our national experience on account of the security challenges that we are faced with and that are being tackled. Is it possible that even in trying to profile solutions or new strategies for dealing with our security, we should be conscious of at least two things? One, perhaps, we appear to have been caught unawares because there has been too much focus on political security. Political security. Just securing the political system and its key operatives. That's one. Secondly, has there been excessive politicization of security or insecurity in the country, and in our inability to therefore forge a national consensus on what insecurity challenges are and how to deal with them promptly.
I think we call that regime security as against national security. Yeah, I think there has been a lot of emphasis on regime security rather than national security, even though there's a very thin line that separates them from it. You gave an example of where the chairman of the Police Service Commission read out numbers of the number of police officers that are guarding our political appointees and elected officials and the rest. I think it should, we must prune down those numbers. When we go for political campaigns, when we are seeking for offices, we go down to the people and beg them. And no sooner do we get elected or selected or whatever it is, we start moving in tinted glasses with a huge myriad of security operatives around us, no more representing the people. And so I think we must look at what is happening in other civilized climes and make sure that security is available to the ordinary people. And I think it's possible, because what you need to do is to sit down with the security operatives and give them a challenge and a task. And say, okay, we need a 5 minutes response time for any national emergency. And that brings me to the numbers that General Adeosun read out. I think what we need is a national emergency number, like the 911 in the US, so that every other first responder will be keyed into it. And I agree with Mr. Mba, who says that we must force the NCC. This is not something that they will keep talking and talking about. If the people there cannot do it, fire them. You don't politicize security. You need a number that when you dial 193, the operatives there will know the first responder who will respond to that. If it's a transport accident, they know who to call. If it is a medical emergency, they know who to call to respond. It is something that deals with police, they know how to go to call, and the military and SSS and the rest. So it must be a national number that, and I think since it's a global village now, we need to look, if it's 911 abroad, why can't we put our own 911? If you fly in an aircraft, the pilots know all the calls they do is international calls. The shipping agencies, all the shipping lines know there's international calls. Let's put the security calls to international, so that it'll be easy for anybody who is in distress. We know that this is a number you call in distress, and then it is left for those in the control room to know who the first responder is supposed to be and direct to it. So it's something that has to be a national issue. Two, we talked about the breakdown of the social order in this country. We need to look at the social order again and rebuild the social order, because it is the foundation of a society. Because if at the community level there's a breakdown, then you cannot have a state or a nation that is cohesive. So you need to rebuild the social order. And rebuilding that, you don't politicize, because there are some traditional or title holders who should not be parading themselves. They are common criminals, and you must deal with them. The state governments and the authorities of the local government must be bold enough to tackle them and hit them. Don't talk about votes. Talk about security first. You have to be alive before you talk about votes. Talk about party affiliation, or talk about loyalties and the rest. The loyalty must be to the nation and the Constitution. You have taken an oath by the Constitution that you will be fair and defend this country and defend the Constitution. So you must rebuild this social order and make sure that things are being done properly. And I want to commend the police for what they are doing, but I think if you have a look at the National Defense Policy and look at what the white paper says about it, the National Youth Service is a national service. It's a national service, so you don't need volunteers. Approach the DG, NYSC, and let it be incorporated in their training, that all of them, all our youth who are going for national services, just like those in Europe and in Israel, they go for compulsory military service when they're 18. Theirs is compulsory service when you finish your university. Teach them and build their capacity as to reporting and as to security awareness and security reporting and the rest. In fact, in the defense policy, they are supposed to be part of the nucleus for the reserve of the armed forces. So they should be trained as such. So you give them that training and they will perform it. You start building patriotism and national service at that level. And that's why we say that you must start building the capacity from the primary school, from youth. So that you build a spirit of patriotism and nationalism in our youth to be able to know what is right and what is wrong. Their civic responsibility as a citizen and what they should do to protect Nigeria and to protect Nigerians. We must rebuild this. And that is the foundation of national security. Because I said here that if you do not keep yourself safe or you do not stop bleeding, the paramedics will only come to move the dead body. So you must be able to key into the security situation and know our role as national security. I believe that we shouldn't politicize security. It's a very unfortunate thing in this country that it's very difficult. Sometimes you see that for us to come up with a national narrative on all the issues that are challenges that are facing this country, you hear discordant tones based on tribe, based on religion, based on ethnicity and the rest, based on regions and the rest. Sometimes you start wondering, those who are even speaking, whether they are speaking with their head or with their feet, with their mouth or with their feet. I believe that national security issues, there must be consensus and there must be a national narrative. If we say Boko Haram is Boko Haram, it's an ideological thing, people should not politicize or bring religion into it and say these are our boys. No, they are targeting a religion. And I think we must stop stigmatizing religion and tribe and the rest. In every religion and every tribe, there are bad boys. In my own very tribe, there are very bad boys. In every other religion, there are tribes, there are bad boys. Let's fish out these bad guys and hit them, because what we are doing in Israel is that we are building the highway to Rwanda. Once we start stigmatizing tribes, religion, and ethnic groups and say they are the whole ones responsible for this, there are very good people in all the tribes in this country. There are people who are human beings in all ethnic or religions in this country. But there are bad guys. We must treat them as such, isolate them, deal with them according to the laws of the land, and make sure that we don't politicize these national security issues. When there is a security problem, you speak, you hear PDP will say no because APC said this, or APC will say no, PDP said this. But we have real dangers, we have real problems.
Thank you so much, General John Temlong, for your input on the program. I have one question for Frank Uba, Assistant Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner and PRO, Force Headquarters. Usually you get information from informants across the country, location of kidnapping and all that, like it happened in Katsina and Kano. So how are these informants protected? Can I just come in and give you information and go? Because some people say, well, some police officers will now leak information to the criminals and tell them that this man gave us the information or this one. So how are they protected? Very fast, because time is running out on us.
Very straight. Every information given to us, even when sometimes they turn out not to be exactly what we expected, we treat those pieces of information as very important thing. They are valuables. They are important to us. And the informants are also very important to us. We respect the confidentiality of the informant, and we maintain the anonymity of these informants, and they are well protected. There are instances where we even spend money to get information because of the complications. And there are also instances where people just pass information, one-off. Patriotic Nigerians, they don't want you to know them, they don't want you to meet them. They pass this information, just like Chief Ejiofor rightly noted. Some of them could actually hide their caller's ID and make calls. And some of them are respected persons who walk in to see the first PRO, walk in to see the DPO, walk in to see the area commander, and they speak to them and they walk away. And so we can't function without human sources for intelligence.
All right, Frank Oba, thank you very much. General Adeosun, your closing thoughts very briefly. If you're going to scale down in Zamfara, no timelines, but how soon might you be scaling down elsewhere in the country as well?
Well, it's the situation on ground that will actually determine how we scale down or how we call off operations or specific exercise in such area. Look at Operation Safe Conduct. Immediately after the election, it was called off. Look at Operation Python Dance. When it achieved the desired goal, it was called off. So also, any operation we are doing, apart from the normal military duties and training and security around, we call it off when the situation improved to the level that the simple police can continue with other security agencies with the situation.
All right. It's on that note, we'd like to express our deep appreciation to General Lamidi Adeosun, the Chief of Training and Operations at the Army Headquarters here in Abuja. Thanks a lot for being with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
We also would like to thank DCP, that's Deputy Commissioner of Police, Frank Umba, who is also First Public Relations Officer. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Also here in the studios, Chief Mike Ejiofor, regular on Good Morning Nigeria, Acting President, Alumni Association of the Institute of Security Studies. Mike, thanks a lot for being around.
Very much.
From Jos, we're joined by Brigadier General John Temlong. Of course, he was former commander, Multinational Joint Task Force, and also president of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College. General Temlong, thanks a lot for being with us on the program. All right, so that does it for us today on Good Morning Nigeria. I would like to thank you for tuning in. The program returns tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, do enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Juma Yusuf. Bye for now.